Hi, I'm Julia Deans. I'm the CEO of Futurpreneur Canada. We help young people launch businesses from coast to coast. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with the Right Honourable Paul Martin. Before entering politics, Mr. Martin was a successful businessman and lawyer. As a politician, he served as Canada's Minister of Finance and as Prime Minister from 2003 to 2006. Since leaving office, he's devoted heart and soul to helping young Aboriginals with new education and business opportunities. I really enjoyed speaking with Mr. Martin and hope you'll enjoy hearing what he had to say. We're doing this interview to share with a room full of young people in Prince Rupert who are interested in entrepreneurship. Why do you think it's important for communities like Prince Rupert to have young people starting businesses?
Well, if you take a look at the Canadian economy, you look at the global economy, the fact is that there's massive change occurring in business all the time. And that really means if you don't have people who are starting new businesses, new kinds of businesses, showing the kind of innovation an entrepreneur has to, then your local area is going to start to fade. And one of the reasons, in fact, that we wanted to have our course put into at Charles Hayes in Prince Rupert is Prince Rupert is a very dynamic part of the British Columbia economy, and it looks outwards. And we were very lucky with Charles Hayes because we had very good teachers, still have very good teachers, and the students are very interested. And so you bring all of that together, and it's a recipe for success. Nobody said that entrepreneurship is easy, but if you're in a dynamic area and that the students understand that they can do this kind of thing, nothing's going to stop you.
And you started an entrepreneurship program. It's now in 46 schools across Canada. Why did you start that program?
Because we understood, first of all, that the economy is changing, and that if you don't have entrepreneurs, then you're not going to keep up with a changing economy. And that a lot of the industries that were once traditional in Canada are now traditional elsewhere, but we have lost them, and we've got to replace them. We've got to replace them with new kinds of industries. We've got to replace them with people with new kinds of ideas. You've got to build on, actually, the skills of the young. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. That's what our program is all about. And that's why we picked Charles Hayes.
And do you see people going through the program necessarily starting their own businesses at the end of it?
We see them going through, certainly thinking very seriously about it. We see them doing it, but we also see them going into other companies, natural resource companies, as an example, rising up. But the way you rise up in a big company is that you be innovative. If you're the person that has that new idea, or if you're the person that can take that new idea and make it work within a big company, you're going to be a success. So entrepreneurship really is right across the board.
Right. And what does the program do?
Well, it teaches marketing. It teaches accounting. It opens up your eyes to opportunity. Nobody should think that a young person living in one part of the country will understand the opportunities right across the country. Nobody expects that a young person in high school will have the experience of somebody who's been 35 years in business. So if you can get mentors and you marry those with the dynamism of the young people, all of a sudden you've got the combination that says this is what the economy is all about, and this is what it can be. And a lot of that, this is what it can be, comes from those young entrepreneurs.
So your program does mentoring. We at Futurpreneur Canada believe strongly in mentoring. We do financing, you do financing. Why is this kind of support so important to the economic success of Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal Canadians?
Well, the mentoring one could not be more straightforward nor more important. I went to law school, and I went from law school into a company in the finance business, and then I went in and became the president of a shipping company. And I had sailed as a seaman, but I had never run a shipping company. If there hadn't been people there who mentored me in the management of business and how you charter and all of this kind of thing, I would have been a total failure. I was very, very lucky that there were a group of people who decided they wanted me to succeed. And that's what mentors do. A mentor essentially is somebody that wants you to succeed.
You've mentioned you've had mentors yourself, and have you in turn mentored on?
I don't know of anybody who hasn't done reasonably well at some form or another, who, if you ask them the question, what was the reason, can't name 2 or 3 people who in fact made it happen. Not by financing them, other people do that, there's no doubt about the importance, but just made it happen because they gave them the right advice at the right time.
We also have some people who say entrepreneurs are born, not made. Do you have a feeling about that?
Yeah, I think entrepreneurs are made. Are there people who were born with a bit more ability to take a chance, or are there people who have the ability to understand some things, better spatial grasp or whatever you want? Of course that happens. We all have different talents, but fundamentally, entrepreneurs are made, and that's why people doing what you are doing, and to be quite honest, people who are doing what we're doing with AF are so important. If somebody opens your eyes to opportunity, not a specific opportunity, but the necessity of grasping opportunity. If somebody opens your eyes to how do you see opportunity before you, and then helps you understand what are the steps towards managing it, establishing goals, then you'll do it. But I must say that's where mentorship comes in. I think it's very difficult to succeed without some kind of mentorship. It may be a mother who drove you, or maybe a father, or it might be much wider. For instance, there is no doubt that success comes in clusters. Well, why does it come in clusters? Why do some areas become wide ranges of furniture manufacturers, other people Silicon Valleys of that kind of thing? Well, the reason is that people learn from other people's successes. Yeah. And that's a form of mentorship.
What would you say to someone who's thinking about becoming a mentor but a little on the fence?
Well, I often think that if you're 5 years older than the next person, you probably got the experience to be a mentorship in one way or another. Experience is crucial. If you don't have experience, you can't be a mentor. But the fact is that if you've lived 10 years, you've got a certain amount of experience. There's no doubt, some of the great philosophers used to say that wisdom comes from having lived, and I think that's true. And if you've lived, you've got the capacity to be a mentor.
So you're now dealing with young Canadians, young Aboriginals right across the country. They're thinking about entrepreneurship. What's your hope? What's your vision for these young people?
Well, the first thing is that I have, since I was a teenager, had friends who were Aboriginals, Indigenous Canadians. I have been involved in one way or another through most of my business career, and obviously when I was in politics. That the capacity for entrepreneurship of Indigenous Canadians is without limit. The fact is they were great entrepreneurs. Historically, when you take a look at now, it's quite clear that there were trading patterns going from the farthest north down to the Tierra del Fuego in South America. That kind of entrepreneurship at that time, that ability to trade, that's what trading was all about. The fur trade were entrepreneurs. So there is a huge history there. Unfortunately, it is a history which was interrupted because we tried to stop it. You're not going to be a successful Aboriginal entrepreneur if you forget who you are, if you forget your culture. You're not going to be a successful entrepreneur if you're not proud of your traditions, but they are. And when you see a young person come along who is proud of who they are and says, I'm going to take on the world and win, nothing will stop them.
So you're now dealing with young Canadians, young Aboriginals right across the country. They're thinking about entrepreneurship. What's your hope? What's your vision for these young people?
The world's your oyster. There's nothing that can hold you back. And part of being an entrepreneur is luck. And they have the luck to be born in what I think is in a tremendous explosion of new ideas, a tremendous explosion of new opportunities. It's there. This is what all of these new technologies are doing. This is what these new markets in Asia and Africa that are opening up provide. And this is what Canada, building on our great natural resource industries, which is opening the door to all kinds of other things, that I think that for their point of view, there probably has never been a better time to be born. The only thing that they have to do is to take advantage of it.
And what's your advice for the rest of Canada on how to help make this happen?
First of all, it's up to us to make it happen, which is to provide them with the entrepreneurs, to provide them with the financing, which is what you're doing. Provide them with the scope, which is what I hope AEP is doing. So in other words, I think the first thing we have to do is to set the stage for it to happen, and then watch it happen and rejoice in it. More than anything else, be really proud of it.